Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. Again, 866-TALK-GUN. Of course, the big news from the last 3 weeks ago, I guess now, Hurricane Ian hitting Florida, tearing it up. If you're not there, if you've ever been in the middle of that kind of devastation, trust me when I tell you that the TV cameras cannot capture it. They cannot show you the breadth of the destruction. When they say it's going to be weeks recovering, the newscasters have no idea. They will be years recovering. But the question is, a lot of people have asked, well, what should I do if I got my guns there, or if I'm a gun owner? How does being a gun owner factor into any of that, whether it's evacuation or protecting your property? There's a guy that's just been writing about that. Lee Williams is known as the Gun Writer. Lee, welcome to Gun Talk.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate the invite.
You bet. Now, are you down in Florida?
I'm in Sarasota, sir. Northern Sarasota County.
Oh, okay. So, you were looking at this thing as it was heading up your way, weren't you?
We were staring down the barrel, and everybody on the weather stations was saying it's going to hit in Sarasota, and thank God, Tom, it hooked to the right. It spared us, but it just decimated Naples and southern Sarasota County and Lee County, Collier
Fort
County.
Myers. And I understand, having grown up and been around hurricanes all my life, it's like you're thinking, man, I really don't want it to come here. I really don't wish it on anybody else.
Yeah.
And I feel guilty saying it, but I'm sure glad it didn't come here, right?
That is exactly it. I mean, you feel like a bowling pin. That ball eventually is just going to hit you.
Yes. I mean, and eventually it is. And so let's talk about this. You were just writing about this, both the preparedness aspect and then the aftermath. If you had some thoughts to share on that, I'm all ears.
Well, a couple of things. Once we knew it was coming, I took all my defensive firearms to the range. I shot them all, made sure they all functioned. Didn't shoot a lot, conserved my ammo. Mm-hmm. Took them home, cleaned them, and then replaced all the batteries and the lights and sights. I also highly recommend developing a good bug-out bag. Now, I've written about how to prepare one. You can go to my website and check it out, but it's an individual decision set up for you, where you live, your climate, your terrain, and other factors. Mm-hmm. We had the truck loaded and ready to go, but the first thing I loaded was my bug-out bag, which can keep two people alive for like 72 hours. And once that was in there, that just gave me tremendous peace of mind, Tom.
Part of this, and we talk about this in self-defense classes and your mindset and all that, is recognizing the threat, situational awareness, take action early, avoiding the fight, in case of a gunfight, is the best way to win it. And in the case of a hurricane or a natural disaster, if you have advance warning, and I can tell from what you're describing, you weren't waiting for somebody on the TV to say, this is an official evacuation order. Because if you wait for that, clearly, as we saw, it can be too late.
That's 100% accurate. The big thing for me was getting ready early and realizing that, the worst thing that comes out of it if I get ready and I don't have to bug out is I got my rifles and pistols sighted in. You have to look at how these criminals view evacuees.
Okay.
I mean, your average hurricane evacuee's got a car full of gas. He's probably got cash. They might have prescription drugs for a couple weeks, and all their precious items that were worth too much to leave at home. These criminals know that. So if you do evacuate, you have to have the means to defend yourself.
The other part of it is when you come back in, there may be criminals and looters in your area. I saw where one sheriff down there was saying, look, when you have looters there, you should go ahead and shoot them, make them look like grated cheese.
Yeah, that's Grady Judd in Polk County. He's the same guy that, when asked why his deputies shot a guy who killed one of their deputies 67 times, he said that's because that's all the ammo they were carrying.
Yeah. Yeah, end of problem there. But, we joke about it. Looters, and here's the thing people need to understand. It's like I tell people about poachers. You got to understand, most poachers are not after the meat. They are criminals. You got to start with that. Looters are not just after your stuff. They are criminals from beginning to end. They're not trying to provide for their family. They're there to steal your stuff, and you have no idea what lengths they will go to accomplish that.
That's the problem. We're not talking thieves. We're not talking shoplifters. These are criminals who are coming into your home or what's left of your home,
right?
Meaning to do you harm. They're not going to let you get in their way. They're there for one specific reason: to take your stuff and sell it and make money.
And they will hurt you to do that if they need to.
Absolutely.
That's the other part of it. And that's the mindset you got to have. Look, I'm not looking to hurt anybody, but I'm also not going to let anybody hurt me.
They're there to hurt you.
Yeah, clearly. So, okay, so you watch this thing come, you were packed up, and then it turned, and you breathe a sigh of relief. But, of course, you're down there, you're hearing the stories of people who, I don't know, people have along the Louisiana coast, same thing where I was, I'll sit this one out. It doesn't look that bad. I've sat through 10 of them. It's never been horrible. And I always say, you know what? You can close your eyes and run through traffic, and that works fine until it doesn't. Just because it's never been bad doesn't mean it's not going to be terrible this time.
I saw that when I was a policeman, indecision, and indecision can kill. Indecision kills a lot of officers in disbelief. Oh, it's not going to happen to me. If you live in one of these evacuation zones down here, an A, B, or a C, and thank God we don't. I'm 8 miles from the water.
Okay.
And they're telling you to evacuate. They shouldn't have to tell you. You should already be gone. You have to make that decision. It's like pulling a trigger. It's a heady responsibility, but you have to do it to save your life. And unfortunately, some people don't and didn't, Tom. And I know a couple of deputies that are working down in these South counties, and right after it hit, they were tagging. They weren't even tagging and bagging. They were tagging the victims they found and looking for survivors. The destruction down here is biblical. If you haven't ever seen anything like that, there's no words to describe it. And like you said, the TV cameras can't show it. Even the drone footage or the helicopter footage, it's biblical. It is going to take years for us to recover.
Yeah, it'll be a full decade, and even then, it won't be completely recovered. I would recommend, if you would enjoy this book. I say enjoy is weird, but it is interesting. There's a book titled Isaac's Storm. And it is about the Great Hurricane of 1900 in Galveston.
Oh, wow.
They don't know how many it killed, but the estimate is 8,000.
Oh, my gosh.
And they have the first-hand reports from people who survived. And it's a fascinating story. And, in the middle of it, people are describing what it was like to be in the middle of it. They had storm surge of 12 to 18 feet. So the entire island of Galveston was covered, completely covered. And people are being washed around and beat up. So when you say it's biblical, it really is, and you just can't imagine it. But this book, Isaac's Storm, it's not a new book. It's been around a long time. It's certainly, if you're into, survival, preparedness, training, that kind of a thing, it's an eye-opener in terms of paying attention to the signs.
I will have to check that out. I know I've been getting asked a lot, so let me just put this out, how to help.
Sure.
There's a lot of scammers down here, and a lot of scammers sending emails. But if you want to help donate your time or your money, go to volunteerflorida.org. Volunteerflorida.org. That is a state site. That is the one that our greatest governor in the country here, Ron DeSantis, has been pushing to. Volunteerflorida.org.
Sounds good. Lee, I recommend people read your stuff. I mean, you're doing a lot of things with the Second Amendment Foundation and also other organizations, other outlets for your writing. How do people keep up with what you're up to?
They can go to saf.org. That's SAF as in Second Amendment Foundation.org, or everything I write goes on my Substack. That's thegunwriter.substack.com.
There you go. Lee Williams, thank you so much. And look, you are welcome here anytime. If you got an idea, throw it out, we'll get you on, okay?
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it, Tom.
You betcha. You take care. Good stuff from somebody on the ground there. Waiting for someone to tell you now's the time is not much of a plan, is it? 866-TALK-GUN.